Hiya, welcome back to One Piece, our live chapter review and live reaction. We have chapter 1098, titled The Birth of Bonnie. So this should pick up where the last chapter left off and show how Ginny got rescued, and will show us how Bonnie was born. And that will kind of give us the final confirmation of what Bonnie's actual chronological ages compared to her physical age as altered by her devil fruit abilities. So, I guess there was a lot of excitement surrounding this chapter since it seems to be out a day early, even though that is sort of the standard whenever we come off a break anyway, even though this is the second chapter back after a break, so hopefully this chapter doesn't end with us on another break, but I have a feeling it will, so I won't be surprised if we see it's on break at the end of this chapter. So let's see, we've got a title page. Brook. Cover requests by Skywalker. Brook powering his electric guitar solo with an electric eel. And we've got a nice picture of Brook and an electric eel in the background, and electricity flying everywhere, a wave crashing. But interesting, on Brook's pants it says, "This chapter's manuscript is unfinished. Sorry, Oda." So I don't believe this was something added by the Scantillation folks, so is this an actual message from Oda? Written on the cover page itself? That is odd. I don't think I've ever seen Oda write a message on the cover page before. So I don't know. This chapter's manuscript is unfinished. Sorry, Oda. What exactly does this mean? This chapter's manuscript is unfinished. So does this mean this is an incomplete chapter? That would be a first time also. And if it's an incomplete chapter, then how is he going to complete it? Is this chapter going to be completed as part of next week's chapter, or will there be like an update released midweek that finishes this chapter out, or this could just be a joke? But it's not the type of thing Oda usually jokes about, so it's hard to tell. And it's in a place where you don't see Oda joking typically on the cover page. These type of meta references are usually left for things like the SBS question corner, so I'm not entirely sure what meaning to take from this. Maybe I will find out as I continue reading. If the chapter seems obviously unfinished, then I guess that means this message was actually true. And if not, I suppose then this is maybe a joke or a mistake, or I'm sure this wasn't something that the Scantillation people did. So let's get into the reading. Got our note from Oda here. The One Piece anime's 25th anniversary celebratory banquet was hosted at the Ryogoku Kokugikan Arena recently. I had a lot of fun stuffing myself, but it's time to get back to work. Okay. Revolutionary Army HQ, Baltigo. The expanding tides of revolution. Requesting backup. The Toomey uprising in the South Blues looking bleak. We can't. Our hands are full. Dealing with the wounded at Goa. Okay. Okay, wait a minute. Toomey uprising in the South Blue looking bleak. Eva responding to that transmission. We can't. Our hands are full dealing with the wounded at Goa. So something happened in the Goa Kingdom? What time is this? Okay, Is this around the time Luffy was born? Because we're talking about wounded at Goa, so I'm assuming this would be the Goa incident where the elite tried to wipe out. Yeah, that has to be the incident. So this should be about the time Dragon is going to meet Sabo. And if this is that time, then Bonnie should be born or about to be born. I'm not entirely. Okay, let's not get distracted here. Get back to reading. So there's something going on in Goa. Kuma, I'll go. Don't be rash. Don't be rash, Kuma. You're been acting reckless ever since that day. Okay, so Kuma is volunteering to go to the Toomey Kingdom. Also, this Kuma is looking a lot more menacing than he did when he joined the Revolutionary Army. He's wearing a hood now, a black hood. I think he's wearing shades as well, or glasses, because his eyes look whited out. Don't be rash, Kuma. You've been acting reckless ever since that day. And we've got a flashback here. Kuma's attacking somewhere. There's lots of... like the ground is cracking and it's lots of energy. It's not hockey. I'm not seeing any hockey. It looks like there's soldiers from a kingdom. What the? This guy's huge. Where did you come from? State your name. Then we've got Kuma thinking. Jinny's been captured. Oh man, Kuma's looking really scary. He's glaring. Transponder snail talking to a shadowy figure. Yes, sir, it seems she caught the eye of a celestial dragon. Oh boy. Oh boy, that's no good. They took her on a government ship because the celestial dragon wanted to make her his bride. We won! Finally, after 3 years of struggling, we couldn't have done it without the Revolutionary Army. So we've got people celebrating. Looks like a tower that's been destroyed. The Dendamushi is crying. The enemy took us by surprise. It was the Revolutionary Army again. So we've got Marines picking up the transmission. Here's to the Revolutionary Army, the heroes of the people. Please forgive us. And Kuma calling him on a miniature transponder snail. Dragon, it's me. I've worn myself out. I'll have to return by ship. We're so sorry. Okay, so let me scroll back up and just take this in. So this is all current time events. Yeah, this is all current time events. So, well, not current time, current time, but I mean current time in the flashback. So, Ginny has been taken by a celestial dragon. I guess the Revolutionary Army is not going after her, or they're waiting for the right opportunity to try and rescue her. In the meantime, they're continuing their regular revolutionary operations, apparently. I think Kuma used his paw power to transport himself to the Tumi Kingdom, where they were having a scuffle overthrowing their government. So Kuma came in, he helped the kingdom free itself. While he was fighting, he was remembering that Bonnie's been kidnapped and the reason for her being kidnapped. And that reason is that she caught the eye of a celestial dragon, took her on a government ship. So that means perhaps the person that we saw at the very end of the last chapter wasn't a Marine Admiral or any Marine figure, it was a celestial dragon? Or maybe Cypherpole on behalf of the celestial dragon? Then that brings up the question, where did the celestial dragon end up seeing Ginny? Because there were no celestial dragons at the Sorbet Kingdom. Maybe a celestial dragon, but that doesn't make sense that a celestial dragon would see her wanted poster, or if she even had a wanted poster. Celestial dragons, I don't think they read any newspapers or such from the lower world, because that would be beneath them, wouldn't it? In their thinking. So the only way a celestial dragon could have seen her is if one was on the surface for some reason and saw her. Okay, but that's enough. So Kuma helped the Tumi Kingdom free themselves. And now he's calling Dragon. He wore himself out fighting. And I'll have to return by ship. So Kuma's on a ship heading back to Baltico, I'm assuming. Around 2 years have passed since Commander Ginny of the Revolutionary Army was kidnapped. So 2 whole years have passed. Revolutionary, here's the people. Around 2 years have passed since Commander Ginny of the Revolutionary Army was kidnapped to be wed to a celestial dragon. Wow, wow. We're nearly there, Bonnie. Kuma, it's Ginny. She's on the line right now. What? Hey, Kumachi, I finally made it back to the surface. Ginny? Okay, so Ginny called in to Baltigo. But let me go up to the previous panel. 2 years since Ginny was kidnapped. Wed to a celestial to be wed to a celestial dragon. We've got a baby crying, and Ginny speaking to Bonnie. We're nearly there, Bonnie, and it looks like a ship, a ratty ship, is sailing towards Baltigo. And Ginny is calling in. To Baltigo? Kuma, it's Ginny. She's on the line right now. What? Hey, Kumachi, I finally made it back to the surface. Ginny! We've got Kuma, Dragon, and Ivankov looking shocked. They didn't want me around after I got sick. I was thrown away. Then Kuma's face. What a stroke of luck. And that's Ginny response. Still Ginny speaking. What a stroke of luck. Kuma, you're sick? I wanted to see everyone one last time, but this call will have to be our goodbye. Then Ivankov, what? Kuma, what are you talking about, Ginny? Where are you? I can be there in an instant. I was afraid I'd never see you again. Kuma is crying and screaming. Kumachi, sorry, but I'm at death's door. Pant, pant. What? I'm glad you care about me, really, but you shouldn't come close. You shouldn't come when I'm like this. Dragon, big bro. Kumachi has a big heart. Please take care of him for me. Kuma. So Kuma is running away now. Get out of the way. There's only one place she'd go now. Poof, Kuma-san. So Kuma has teleported himself. And Ginny is still talking. And Kumachi, I just want you to know I love you. Always have, always will. Gotcha. Kuma, you're back. Where's Ginny? She's right here. Oh, where's Ginny? She's here, right? She is, but I'm afraid it happened when she was exposed to natural sunlight. Her face, her entire body, it turned all blue in the sun, and her skin hardened like stone. What the? So, let me go back. Ginny was giving a transmission that was her final goodbye. So on that ship, she wasn't sailing towards Baltigo. It seems on that ship she was sailing towards the Sorbet Kingdom. Kuma figured out that that's where she was heading, and he teleported himself to the Sorbet Kingdom. He arrived there at the church where they grew up. Asked where Ginny was. But then this is the weird part. Now she told him that she was already on her deathbed for some reason. She was dying. It happened when she was exposed to natural light. Her face, her entire body. It turned all blue in the sun, and her skin hardened like stone. So, question, is this a new disease in the One Piece world? Because I've never heard of anything like this before. Natural light. Made her entire body turn blue and harden like stone. And it's fatal. she was in Mary Joie, so it had to be a disease from there, but hmm. The celestial dragons, I've never seen a celestial dragon with any sort of disease. And they are exposed to natural sunlight, so now that brings up the question, maybe since she was from the quote unquote mortal world, maybe when she got thrown away, she ended up being exposed to whatever this disease was. But that brings up a whole slew of questions. Is this disease rampant in Mary Joie? Maybe it's something that only slaves and servants have to deal with in Mary Joie? But okay, this is the reason for Ginny's death, apparently. Okay, we got Kuma remembering Ginny as he's looking over her body, and it's weird. It's got all these marks on it. I guess those are like like stonish scales growing out of her skin. Kumachi, I'm just so happy. Kuma's picking up her body. What could have done this to her? It's still remembering. Hey, Kumachi, let's get married. Kuma's crying. Is he still remembering? Wouldn't it make you happy? Yeah, he's hugging her, kneeling over and crying. She burned up her remaining time, exposing herself to the sun. Hug. So she could cross the ocean and make it home to us. And now the elderly people are crying and they're speaking, because she wanted to ensure her baby's safety. And there's Bonnie crying. And Kuma's crying and Bonnie's crying. You can rest now, Ginny. I swear I'll raise her well. Now we have Ginny's grave. That's all wrong. You're tilting the bottle too much. Is this better? Bonnie-chan still looks uncomfortable. I'll show you how it's done. She's so cute. And if you're gonna be sleeping next to her, make sure the cot is like an iron cage. Make sure her cot is like an iron cage. We can't have you smushing her in your sleep with that massive body. Oh, you're quite the heavy drinker, Bonnie-chan. I'm sure you'll be just as much of a glutton as Ginny was. Kuma's remembering Ginny. I'm still hungry. How hungry Ginny was, and now he's smiling and crying. Looks like we're now a few years later at the church. Daddy! Kuma's crying tears of joy since Bonnie is calling him Daddy. The old people are all celebrating, and Kuma's crying. Bonnie is in a dress, kind of looking like Koala. She has a bob haircut, or short hair. Now I've got Kuma feeding Bonnie, and the elderly people looking after her. Kuma going to fight battles for the revolutionaries. Got Kuma bathing Bonnie. Another shot of him fighting in war for the revolutionaries. So it looks like he continued to serve as a revolutionary, going out on these missions. And while he did, the elderly people took care of Bonnie. Then when he came back, he took care of Bonnie. We got Bonnie sleeping in the iron cot so the Kuma doesn't roll over on her and smush her while he's sleeping next to her. There's Sabo. We got Kuma training Sabo. Kuma. Back to church. What in the world are you doing? You boarded up all the church's windows. Huff, huff. Pant, pant. Close the door. Take a look here below her eye. He's pulling back Bonnie's hair, and she has a mark on her face. Is that a blue stone? Hey, isn't that... It looks just like what Ginny had at the end. And it's those two guys that are part of Bonnie's crew. So Ginny has the same disease now. I call a doctor. Thank you. It's caused by sunlight, you say? Are you sure? Why don't we try taking her outside? Are you insane? It doesn't seem to be white lead poisoning. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this condition. Do we have the revolutionary headquarters, Dragon, and Ivankov? Now Ivankov is in his full getup. So we're getting closer and closer to the present. Ivankov is in his full getup. Dragon is in a little bit farther back, but it looks like he's in his full getup. He's wearing a black cloak and everything. You're quitting the Revolutionary Army? And Bonnie's contracted the same disease her mother had? Yes. I don't know if it's the right thing to do, but I have to stay by her side. Here's Dragon. I understand. It's important to live without regrets. We can use our contacts to reach out to doctors all over the world for her. I owe you, Dragon. 7 years ago, when Bonnie was 5. Seven years ago, when Bonnie was 5. Five. So 7 years ago from the present now we're talking? 7 years ago from the present? Because if that's the case, that 7 years ago from the present, Bonnie was 5, that makes Bonnie only around 12 now, which means the power of her devil fruit has aged her 10 years. Also, looking at the spot on Bonnie's face, where the blue stone started to grow, I believe that is the spot where she has a piercing on her face. If that is the case, which I'm pretty sure that it is it that she got the piercing to cover up a hole in her face that was eventually a hole in her face that was created by the by the disease. So, like, once the disease was cured, she still had facial damage in that spot. So she got a piercing there. I think that actually might be the case. Yep, looking at current Bonnie's design, she does have that piercing. And it is in the same spot, right under her eye. Yep, right under her right eye, where she has the piercing. So I believe that tracks. Either it could also be that they were able to cure disease completely, and that blue stone scale healed, and she just got the piercing there as a reminder, perhaps. But there's definitely a connection there. So 7 years ago, when Bonnie was 5, you've got Bonnie, Shadow Bonnie, looking very angry, chasing after 3 boys. Yeah, run away! The vampire's gonna eat us! And stay out, you twerps! Bonnie, age 5, so she's got that temper just like Ginny. And she's flipping off the kids. Blah! This is as far as you can go, right? Huh. I dare you to take a step out here, you ugly vampire. Eat this. Bet the Holy Cross is your weakness. Look at it shine. So we got a kid holding a cross out at her from a distance. We're in a church, you dummy! And Bonnie does a flying kick and kicks the kid in the head. I'll show you who's boss. I'm coming after you. Ooh, stop it, Bonnie. Now that kid is running away. Kuma, please, you can't go outside. Even standing near the doorway can give you the ouchies. I know, you're such a worrywart, Dad. I was just kidding. Please, don't even joke about it. Okay, I hate it when you get all sad and worried anyway. You're such a good kid. Stop being such a crybaby, Dad. Now Kuma's hugging her and crying. Those jerks, they made fun of my face stones again. Are they really that weird? It's not like I can help them. I didn't ask to get sick. Instead of poking and scratching at the markings. You mean your jewels? Kuma says making a silly face at her. Well, they're just jealous because you've got such pretty jewelry. So you think so? You betcha I love them. So that's where her name Jewelry Bonnie comes from. It's not the jewels, not the gems created by power of her devil fruit. It's because she used to have this stone jewelry disease. Hey Bonnie, if you were to go on a trip, where would you like to go? For when you're better, I mean. Oh, I know. Have you heard about the legendary Sky Islands? There were islands way up in the air? That's right. I read about it in this book. So Bonnie reading a book about Sky Island. It's close to the sun, so maybe we'll see Nika up there. You love that too, right, Dad? Dun da da to to. Dun da da to to. Kuma's doing the Nika dance. That sounds like a grand adventure. We can go there and have a big celebration for your 20th birthday. Where should we go for your 19th? Fishman Island! So this explains why Bonnie ended up aging herself up to 20 pre-time skip. After examining your daughter, I've concluded that she suffers from sapphire scale. I'm afraid it's incurable. You know what it is? I'm sorry to ask, but can you please speak a bit quieter? These days you almost never see it. Those stones grow exponentially when bathed in any form of natural light, like the sun or the moon. But even if you completely prevent any exposure, I'm afraid it's only a matter of time before the disease catches up with you. Forgive me for being so blunt, but your daughter has another 5 years at best. It'll be a miracle if she reaches her 10th birthday. I'm afraid it's simply terminal, going by our current scientific understanding of it. Kuma's shocked to hear this news and now he's crying. It'll be over by her 10th birthday? This isn't fair. She's already growing into such a strong woman. Is there really no cure? Kuma's closing the door. Boo! Wah! Bonnie, I thought you were asleep. I heard it all. You said it'll be over by my 10th birthday, right? Your 10th? I have no idea what you're talking about. I heard you say it. Hey, are you crying? Is it something I said? Yes, he said when you're 10, it was about your illness, Bonnie. That stupid doctor. He told me that your condition is going to continue as it is till you're 10. Huh? It's just such an appalling amount of time. I couldn't help but get down after that. That means I'll be all better when I'm 10, right? So we can go on those trips. Isn't that right, Daddy? Oh no, what have I done? Of course, by the time you turn 10, you'll be cured. Yippee! What am I going to do? A familiar nightmare would soon descend on the kingdom Sorbet only 1 year later. Kuma! You've got to save us! King Bakori has returned and he's just as monstrous as ever. The old people, they're injured and crying. It's just like 16 years ago. He still wants to cut loose the country's dead weight. He's going to burn the people in their homes. The never-ending tragedy continues to unfold. Chapter end and a break next week. Okay, so this isn't going anything like I predicted in the previous chapter. At the end of the previous chapter, which is good. Sapphire scale disease. Bonnie was 7 years ago. Bonnie was 5, 7 years ago. She, she makes her 12 now. So she ended up living past the 10-year mark. Is that due to the power of her devil fruit? I'm thinking that might be the case. This is a very similar, this might be a very similar situation to the white lead syndrome, where the power of Bonnie's devil fruit ended up curing her disease. So we have the whole Bakori thing. Perhaps this upcoming situation is going to be when Kuma finally ejects Bakori and takes over as the king of Sorbet Kingdom. As for how Bonnie gets her devil fruit, there are some possibilities. One that is in my head right now is perhaps Dragon and the Revolution, Dragon, Ivankov, and the Revolutionary Army with all their connections. Maybe they end up coming across the devil fruit and they learn that it has the possibility of curing the disease, so they bring it to Kuma. Another possibility is maybe since King Bakori is still trying to do this whole cleansing thing, it could be that a celestial dragon, maybe the celestial dragon that ended up taking Jenny, is going to come to the Sorbet Kingdom. Maybe it will be that that particular celestial dragon came to the Sorbet Kingdom 16 years ago, the first time Bakori tried to do this purge, and he's coming now again the second time, and Kuma will meet this celestial dragon this time. And maybe there's possession of the devil fruit. The celestial dragon might have possession of that devil fruit. Bonnie is still 5 at this point, so there is another 5 years to get the fruits. For 5 years of time for Bonnie to eat the fruit, to find and eat the fruit. But this confirms all that. Just the child talk from the previous chapters. That's why Vegapunk and St. J. Garcia referred to Bonnie as just a child, because she is indeed just 12. A 12-year-old. Actually, speaking of Vegapunk, that doctor said that there was no cure with our current scientific knowledge. Vegapunk has scientific knowledge 500 years into the future. So, that actually lines up. Vegapunk saves Bonnie's life. Kuma owes Vegapunk slash the world government, so he gives himself up for the sake of Bonnie being cured of her fatal disease that extends Bonnie's life, and maybe she finds devil fruit on her own and it has nothing to do with her disease. And I think that might be the more likely scenario now that I'm thinking about the whole Vegapunk factor. Because Ginny's dead, so he can't sacrifice himself to save Ginny's life. Bonnie's life is on the line here. Yeah, I think that's exactly where this is going. Vegapunk hears her. Which explains why Kuma is willing to let them turn him into a cyborg. He does it for the sake of Bonnie. To save Bonnie's life. Bonnie never knew this, which is why she blamed Vegapunk and treated Vegapunk as the reason for her dad for losing her father. But it was actually the Celestial Dragons. Particularly Saint J. Garcia. Which is interesting. Because Saint J. Garcia has been intertwined with Kuma's life from very early on. And also to an extent intertwined with Bonnie's life as well. So the question is, was it Saint J. Garcia that ultimately proposed the ultimatum to Kuma to give up his life in exchange for Bonnie's life? Which would explain why Bonnie has a grudge with Saint J. Garcia after seeing Kuma's memories. I think that is probably close to how the events will end up unfolding. Sapphire Scale. These days you almost never see it. So yeah, this is quite the chapter. A lot of development on Kuma and Bonnie. I'm thinking we're not as close to the end of the flashback. We're probably, if we're going at this pace, maybe 2 chapters away. 2, 3 chapters away from the end of the flashback. Because I feel like the events are going to have to be Kuma meeting with Vegapunk, or maybe learning about Vegapunk, then meeting up with Vegapunk, Vegapunk will already be under the command and control of the world government at that point. So if Kuma wants anything from Vegapunk, he would probably have to go to the elders, specifically St. J. Garcia. St. J. Garcia sees the opportunity to get a Buccaneer under the world government's control, presents Kuma with that ultimatum. Kuma accepts it. Timing wise, so timing wise, he'd have to do this now or sometime over the next 5 years. So since Bakori is attacking now, he'll have to repel and defeat Bakori now. So will he be crowned king directly after that event? Then he goes to the world government, and the world government sends him back to Sorbet Kingdom as a quote-unquote tyrant. And then there's also the question of warlords. If they make Kuma a warlord as soon as he accepts the deal to save Bonnie, then that would mean Kuma was never a pirate proper. He was never a pirate proper until after he gained the title of warlord. Which I can see that being the case. Since even back when he was introduced, they referred to him as a tyrant, a king, never really a pirate until after he became a warlord. So maybe he had a bounty as a revolutionary, even though they haven't shown any yet. But Dragon had one, and I believe Ivankov had one. Did he? I think he did. So it's only natural that Kuma had one too. But good setup. We got a break next week. Things are heating up. Kuma is shaping up to have him and Bonnie combined, having a really, really messed up backstory here. It makes me wonder if Kuma still makes me wonder if we're setting up for Kuma ultimately dying here. I'm hoping that's not the case, but at this point it could be the case and it could not be the case. And in terms of the note that Oda left on the cover of the page about the manuscript being unfinished, I believe he's referring to the art, that the art in the chapter is actually unfinished, because when we go through the chapter, we see the first few pages look fine. Then we get into some really, really rough, like, sketch style drawing. Really rough sketches and outline kind of drawing. Which I suppose this is the unfinished manuscript part he was talking about. So it's the art that's unfinished in the chapter, so it looks really rough at points. And only a few points, mostly at the part where Ginny is mostly at the part where Ginny is talking to the revolutionaries before she dies. That's where it's the roughest, and everything else is just kind of sketchy, a little bit sketchy. So this will probably be fixed up. It will definitely be fixed up by the time it actually goes into a volume. I'm wondering if they'll fix the chapter release anytime soon. May or may not. But one more question that comes from this is, 2 years after 2 years after Ginny was taken, Ginny comes back and she already has Bonnie. So, was Ginny already pregnant? I didn't think she was, but it might be that she was already pregnant when she was taken. Because if that's not the case, then Ginny is the child, or Bonnie is the child of a celestial dragon. And she's not actually part Buccaneer. If she's the child of celestial dragon, that brings up a question of which celestial dragon, or what family she would be from. That would be interesting. So, there's still a bit of a question about Bonnie's parentage. So, that could be something that is possibly a reveal a little bit into the future. But that is going to do it for now. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you all next time, since we're going on a week break. It's going to be a little while. Until then, take care.